Thomson's atomic model. So, my dear boys, see once again, at the time of Thomson, his atomic model, he know only electrons and protons. There is no neutrons. Not only him, Rutherford's theory also explains only about electrons and protons because at that time they don't know neutrons. Neutrons nearly 1910 that time they discovered. Up to now, up to that much time, so they know only electrons and protons. That's enough. Now I'm going to explain how these electrons and protons are arranged in a particular atom by different scientists. The theory I'm going to explain here. See here. Thomson's atomic model. What is this Thomson's atomic model? This Thomson's atomically, he considered atom as a watermelon. As a watermelon, that is why it is Thomson's watermelon model. In this, the total mass and positive charge is equally distributed in the atom. Equally distributed in the atom. The total mass and total positive charge equally distributed in the atom, just a reddish pulp in the watermelon. So it is total mass and total positive charge equally distributed. Equally distributed, that is the reddishness of that watermelon. Okay. So there electrons are fixed at a particular position as a seed fixed in watermelon at a particular position. So embedded, fixed. These are the seeds in watermelon. These seeds are nothing but electrons. This reddishness is nothing but positive charge. So the total mass and positive charge are equally distributed in the atom. Electrons are fixed at a particular position. Embedded at a particular position. So this is the atomic model. He explained just like this, but many of the properties of the atom, different structures and properties, reactions of those atoms are not clearly explained by this model. That's why this was discarded later, and with the help of a new development, yes, it is the first atomic model. So with the help of this some new developments later, Rutherford is a very famous scientist. By taking alpha ray experiments, scattering experiments, he explained atomic model just like this atomic model is taken as Rutherford's planetary model or nuclear model. Rutherford's nuclear model of atom. Okay, because the term nucleus was first introduced by the scientist Rutherford. That's why this model is also called as Rutherford's nuclear model. It is assumed like that. That is, as planets revolve around the sun. That's why it is Rutherford's planetary model, or simply Rutherford's atomic model. How is this? Before going to explain Rutherford's planetary model, now I am going to take Rutherford alpha ray scattering experiment, gold foil experiment. Okay. So what is that alpha ray scattering experiment? From that experiment and observations, he concluded some postulates. He gives some postulates. Those postulates explain the atomic model of the atom. Now I am going to explain Rutherford's alpha ray scattering experiment. Now it is the second one. Second atomic model, that is Rutherford's model. So based on this, some calculations are there. Please be conscious. Very, very important. Rutherford's alpha ray scattering experiment. What is Rutherford's alpha ray scattering experiment? So alpha rays, these alpha rays, nothing but helium nuclei. Alpha rays are ejected from radioactive substances when they are going to disintegrate. So now I am going to take alpha ray particles. For that purpose, it is a beam. which contains a radioactive substance, which is the let us take uranium. This radioactive substance liberates number of alpha particles, nothing but alpha rays. So number of alpha particles are ejected from that radioactive substance. Now, this is passed into a slit having a small hole, a small hole. Through this small hole, only one or a limited number of alpha particles are ejected. Okay. Now this alpha particle is incident on a very thin gold foil. A very thin gold foil, so which is on incident. It is on incident on a thin gold foil. So that thin gold foil, after that, these rays are diverted. These are all collected by taking a ZNS screen. It is a ZNS screen. So there is a brightness is observed when that alpha particle is struck on the surface. So this is the experiment that is conducted by Rutherford. Number of rays are, that is just like the MR, that is scattered. That is, these are called as scattering end. Rutherford scattering experiment. These are scattered alpha ray particles. So from this, he concluded that, let us take, this is the atom. From that experiment, he observed that, he explained that, this is the atom. The entire positive charge of this atom is concentrated at a particular point, which is at the center. So now I'm going to explain the model and atomic model here. Please be conscious. Atom, the entire positive charge and almost entire mass is located at the center of the atom. The total positive charge, the total mass is located at the center of the atom, not equally distributed, just like Thomson model. Okay, this center he called as nucleus. This center he called as nucleus. That is why the first nucleus term was introduced by the scientists. The term nucleus was introduced by Rutherford. That is why this experiment is also called as this model of atom is called as nuclear model of atom, because nucleus, the term is introduced by Rutherford. Okay. At the nucleus, the total positive charge, see here, in the nucleus, total mass and total positive charge is located at that point. The total positive charge and total mass is located at the center of the atom. That is called as the nucleus. How, sir? How is this made? How this one is explained? Because there are number of alpha particles are passing through this atom, because it is a very thin foil. Most of the rays, alpha rays, are transmitted through that way without any deflection. Number of alpha rays are penetrates to that atom without any deflection. That means the atom is empty because of that point. Okay. Next, a few are scattered away from the nucleus. Scattered away from the nucleus. A few. It is certain angles. That means alpha particles are nothing but He2 plus particle. It is a positively charged particle. Alpha particle is a positive charged particle. That means all these are positive particles. So these positive particles at a particular point, which are almost passing towards the center, are diverted away from the part end. That means because it is positive, this is also positive. Between positive and positive, there should be repulsion. That is why diverted away from the atom. That is why the entire positive charge is located at the center. If the total positive charge is situated throughout the body, all these rays should be diverted, but not it is possible end. That is why the total positive charge and mass is located at the center. Most of the atom space is empty based on this. Next, among 10,000, a 1 is exactly come back with the original position. So very, very rare. Almost among 10,000, 1 is exactly come back with almost 180 angle. Exactly come back at. That means, so that is a ray which is exactly passing through the nucleus. There should be a complete repulsion exists. That is exactly come back to original position. So this is the observation he observed through the alpha ray scattering experiment. Based on that, the most of the space in the atom is empty because most of the rays are not diverted. Like a few is diverted. That means that the total mass is situated, or total positive charge is situated only at the center. So among 10,000, a 1 is exactly come back. So based on this, so finally, because these are all positive, this is also positive. That's why all this happened. That means total positive charge is situated at the center. Now, what is the position of these electrons? So no doubt, total positive charge is situated only at the center. Only at the center. Now, what is the position of these electrons? Now, these electrons revolve around that atom, around that nucleus, in that nucleus, around that nucleus, as planets revolve around the sun. So let this nucleus as a sun, these electrons as a planet. So as planets revolve around the sun, those electrons also revolving around the nucleus. That is why this model is called as Rutherford's planetary model. So that means electrons are revolving around the nucleus in a particular manner, in a particular path. Those paths are called as orbits. Those paths are called as orbits. Those orbits, just similar to orbits of those planets, revolve around the sun. Similar to orbits of the planets revolve around the sun, here also electrons revolve around the nucleus. That is the position of these electrons. Because electrons and protons are only concluded here, because neutrons, at the time of Rutherford experiment, there is no neutron cell. Only electrons and protons are identified. Only electrons and protons are identified. That is why here only we consider electrons. So total positive charge at the center, electrons revolve around that nucleus, that as planets revolve around the nucleus. Okay, these are the postulates. This is the experiment given by Rutherford based on this Rutherford alpha ray scattering experiment. Okay, now, finally he gave some postulates. That means entire, almost the major part of the atom is empty. Total mass is situated, it's not invented there. So total mass is situated at the center of the nucleus. And also total positive charge is located at the center of the nucleus. That center part in the atom is called as nucleus. Electrons revolve around the nucleus in a closed circular path or orbital elliptical path, whatever it may be. That is just like planets revolve around the sun. Just like planets revolve around the sun. That's enough. That's enough. Okay. So this is about Rutherford experiment. But there are some limitations in this Rutherford experiment. So what are these limitations? So see here. I think this Rutherford experiment is in your 10th class. It is very, very important towards your 10th class object, 10th class exam site. But intermediate is negligible important. Okay. What are these limitations of? What are the limitations of this entire Rutherford model and limitations? So what he told in his experiment, the total positive charge is located at the center. Next, electrons are revolve around the nucleus in a continuously with high velocity. These electrons revolve continuously with high speed. They revolve around the nucleus in a closed circular path continuously with high speed. That means At that time, classical theory is there in it. Maxwell's classical theory and so on. According to him, as long as a charged particle revolves around a particular path, it continuously losing energy. According to classical theory, mechanics, as long as a charged particle continuously in movement it continuously losses energy. And if it continuously losses energy, automatically the nuclear attraction over that electron increases. So because it's losing energy, so nuclear attraction over that electron increases, automatically this electron is just like a spiral one and finally fell down into the nucleus. That means the atom is going to collapse. If this happens, the atom is going to collapse, but atom still exists. Atom exists means that is not happening. That means, according to theory, this should be happening, but practically it is not happening. That means, why it is not possible? So that is not explained by this Rutherford. So, but the term nucleus is a very, very important term that was given by this Rutherford. So something betterment than that of transfer model is available here. Okay. So even though some limitations are there, some applications, some important points like nucleus and orbits are introduced. So later, Bohr used these points and developed his theory as Bohr's atomic theory. So that is, I will explain tomorrow class. So up to now, please wait. Now, this is the Rutherford's experiment. That means he doesn't give exact conclusion about the electron revolution. So that means a charged particle which is in movement, it continuously loses energy. If it is continuously loses energy, that is strongly attracted by the nucleus and finally fell down into the nucleus. So that means the atom is going to collapse, but it does not happen. That means perfect revolution of that electron concept is not explained by Rutherford. That is not perfectly explained. So this is Rutherford's alpha ray scattering experiment and Rutherford's model of atom. Now it is all about your 10th class. But in our intermediate and in your in particular towards your objective side. Now, what is the effective radius of? Okay, so there is Maxwell. Classical mechanics, that is Maxwell classical theory. So that is, what is the effective radius of that nucleus? Now our topic is towards effective nucleus. Okay, so what is this effective nucleus of the atom? How to calculate this effective nucleus of the atom? So according to this alpha ray scattering experiment in particular, so Rutherford's atomic model. So topic is calculation of effective nucleus. Effective radius of the nucleus. Effective radius of the nucleus or distance of closest approach of alpha particle. Distance of closest approach of alpha particle. What is this? How to explain the concept here? Distance of closest approach. Okay, let us take My dear boys, please listen carefully. I don't repeat once again. This is the nucleus of the atom. This is the nucleus of the atom with charge, atomic number Z, and each electron, each proton has charge E in it. So Ze is the charge of that electron, that nucleus. It is charge of nucleus. Charge of nucleus. Now, at point Q, let it be Q1. At point Q, alpha particle is there again. There is an alpha particle. Its charge is alpha particle He2 for any. Its charge is 2E. 2E is the charge. Alpha particle charge is 2E. That nucleus charge is Ze. Okay. Let it be Q1 charge. That is Q2 charge. Q1 charge, Q2 charge. Now this alpha particle moving towards nucleus. Moving towards nucleus. Moving towards nucleus and reaches a point. So, my dear boys, see here. It is the largest distance. There is no attraction repulsion between these two charges. So not influenced by one another. Not influenced by one another. Now this alpha particle moving towards nucleus, automatically the repulsion between this positive and this positive is increased. Moving towards nucleus, repulsion automatically increases. So that means towards this direction, repulsion increases. Towards when alpha particle moving like this, automatically the distance between this alpha particle and nucleus decreases. As distance decreases and repulsion increases, so automatically the velocity decreases. Velocity of alpha particle decreases. Velocity of alpha particle decreases. Is this clear or not? Are these 2 points are clear or not? So as the particle moving towards nucleus, the distance between these two decreases. As the distance decreases, repulsion increases between them, because between positive and positive there should be repulsion. Repulsion increases. As the repulsion increases, that means opposing force, because it is less charge, it is more charge in it. So more charge opposes it. That is why. So velocity of this alpha particle gradually decreases, and at a point P, let it be a point P. At point P, that velocity goes to 0. At point P, the velocity goes to 0. That means up to this point only the alpha particle is moving. After that, it is not possible. That means up to this point, its nucleus charge influence is available. Because it is positive charge, here up to this positive charge is influenced here. That means, so beyond this point, the particle is not moving towards the nucleus. That means up to this region, up to this circular region, so the total positive charge influence is there. That distance between this P and this center of the nucleus. This distance is taken as distance of closest approach. That is taken as distance of closest approach. That is taken as, this is the influence. So this is the effective radius of the nucleus. This is the effective radius of the nucleus, which is nothing but distance of closest approach of alpha particle. After that point, The particle is not moving ahead. That means at this velocity 0, as velocity 0, kinetic energy also equal to 0 because kinetic energy equal half mv square, v is going to 0. So at point P, kinetic energy 0. So that means potential energy is there because of its position, it is high end. Potential energy is high. Something potential energy is there. Next, at point Q, which is in movement, so kinetic energy is high, potential energy is equal to 0. At Q point, kinetic energy is high and potential energy is equal to 0. There, kinetic energy is 0 and potential energy is high end. So based on these 2 points, I am going to calculate the D value. I am going to calculate the D value. See here. So once again, very, very important. At point Q, potential energy 0, kinetic energy has something value. At point P, potential energy has something value, but velocity 0 means the kinetic energy is equal to 0. Kinetic energy is equal to 0. So now I am going to clean this board. Is there any doubt up to now? Is there any doubt up to now? Okay, thank you. See here. Now apply law of conservation of energy. Law of conservation of energy. That means energy before is equal to energy after. Total energy before is equal to total energy after. Total energy means potential energy plus kinetic energy before case is equal to potential energy plus kinetic energy final case end, after case end. Or final case end, not after. I am going to take final. Total energy final, it is also going to final. So total energy conditions end. Now here potential energy is there. So here potential energy is equal to 0 and kinetic energy is equal to something is there. Here potential energy is something is there, kinetic energy is equal to 0. Final case. So apply those values. Potential energy is calculated by using the formula that is the electrostatic force of attraction, that is potential energy. So see here. It is kinetic energy of alpha particle is equal to potential energy, and kinetic energy of alpha particle is nothing but now which is equal to half mv square, mass of alpha particle, not electron. It is mass of alpha particle, velocity of alpha particle whole square, half mv square, which is equal to potential energy. Potential energy is calculated with the help of some constant k, that is called as permittivity. That is see here, that value is a constant into q1. Here a potential energy is equal to k into q1 q2 by distance r. q1 q2 by distance r. Now q1, how much is the charge? That is q1 is nothing but for alpha particle, that is 2e. q2, that is the nuclear charge. Nuclear charge is Ze by r. That is the least distance, closest distance. The closest distance here we taken as r. R is the closest distance. Okay, here k is called as constant, and here k is nothing but constant. Therefore, half. So just rearrangement. Half m alpha v alpha square is equal to k. That is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. K is nothing but 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, which is nothing but permittivity into Z into 2 into E square by R. Z into 2 into E square by R. Okay. Now From this is the closest distance. I want to calculate that R value only. Therefore, R is equal to, which is nothing but closest distance. Distance of closest approach is equal to, R is equal to, so 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into Z 2Z E square by, let it be this one totally as, KE, that is one formula. KE, it is one of the formulas. KE. Next, one more formula, substitute that KE value with this one, which is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught KE 2ZE square by half mass of alpha particle, velocity of alpha particle whole square. Mass of alpha particle, velocity of alpha particle whole square. Okay. So, see here. Next. Therefore, R is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, 4 ZE square by mass of alpha particle into velocity of alpha particle whole square. Mass of alpha particle into velocity of alpha particle whole square. This is the distance of closest approach end. This one and this one. If kinetic energy is given to you, this is the formula. Masses are given to you, this is the formula. So these two are the distance of closest approach. So now, what is this 2 alphas or 2 E's are? 2 E is nothing but charge of alpha particle. What is this ZE? It is charge of nucleus. This is Q1, this is Q1, this is Q2. These two are separated with the distance R. So potential energy is calculated this, that is electrostatic attraction, that is potential energy is equal to K into Q1 Q2 by this square. That is R value. So R, that is the distance. Now 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, this is nothing but this 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is equal to permittivity of the substance, which is equal to 9 into 10 power 9. Its value is equal to 9 into 10 power 9. Here, this is the value. In this, epsilon naught is equal to permittivity of the material. Permittivity of the material. Epsilon naught. So, just 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught taken as 9 into 10 power 9. 9 into 10 power 9. So, these are the two formulas used to calculate. So, closest distance. K has units. K value nothing but that one is equal to 1 in case of CGS system. In case of CGS system, K value is equal to 1. The same K value is equal to 9 into 10 power 9 in case of Newton meter square Coulomb power minus 1. So these are the K values in different system. It is SI system. So that is CGS system, K value is taken as 1. In MKS system or SI system, that is 9 into 10 power 9. Mass of the alpha particle is taken in kgs, velocity in meters per second. Now Z is equal to, what is this Z? Z is nothing but atomic number. Atomic number of element. Whose element towards approach? Atomic number of element. E is the charge of the electron, that is 1.602 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb. E is nothing but charge of the electron. So this is the formula used to calculate. Now, my dear boys, please be mind, these are the two important formulas. This one and this one. Calculate the effective radius of The effective radius of copper 29, mass number 2363. If alpha particle is projected on the nucleus with velocity 10 power 6 meters per second. 10 power 6 meters per second. Atomic mass of copper is equal to 63 given to you. Atomic mass of copper is given to you. And now how to calculate the problem? Calculate the effective radius of the nucleus. Effective radius is nothing but R. And effective radius R is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into 4z e square by mass of alpha particle into velocity of alpha particle whole square. Because kinetic energy is not given to you. Kinetic energy is not given to you. Now substitute these values here. That is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon. I am going to calculate in MK system. That is 9 into 10 power 9. 9 into 10 power 9 into 4 into Z. Atomic number of the element. It is Z. 29. Z into E square. E is the charge of the electron. Charge of the electron in coulombs. 1.602 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs whole square by mass of the alpha particle. Mass of alpha particle is 4 times that of hydrogen. Is 4 times that of hydrogen. Hydrogen mass, that is 4 ura. In particular 4 AMU. 4 AMU and atomic mass units. And that is 4 into 1 AMU is equal to 1.66 into 10 power minus 27. And that is, it is the mass of alpha particle into velocity of alpha particle. Velocity of alpha particle in meters is given to you. That is 10 power 6 whole square. 10 power 6 whole square. Altogether the final calculation, that is 4.176 into 10 power minus 12 meters. That is the radius and effective radius. Just by knowing the values. Just by knowing the values. So please be conscious, very, very, very important. So in objective, in particular, advanced point of view, this problem is very, very important. Advanced side, not main side also. It is towards advanced side. Mass unit kgs. Kgs. You should use kgs. Because it is all are in MK system. Because the value is in MK system. Next, based on the theta value, I am going to give an explanation. That is, in Rutherford alpha ray scattering experiment, the number of alpha particles scattered at an angle theta is equal to 60 degrees is 12 per minute. 12 per minute. The number of alpha particles per minute per minute when scattered at an angle of 90 degrees r dash. And try yourself at an angle of 90 degrees r dash. Give me the answer. Give me the answer. We know number of alpha particles scattered is directly proportional to Z by sine power 4 theta by 2. And Z is same in this case. Z is same. So scattered 1 by scattered 2 is equal to sine power 4 theta 2 by 2 by sine power 4 theta 1 by 2. And theta 1 by 2. That implies scattered 1 per minute 12 and scattered 2 I'm going to calculate, let it be x and is equal to sine power 4 theta 2 90 by 2 by sine power 4 theta 60 by 2. And 60 by 2. Now x is equal to, after final calculation, 3 n. Using your mathematical calculation, sine 45 whole power 4, sine 30 whole power 4 n. So that is finally the x value is 3 n. Number of alpha rays scattering, alpha particles scattered with that angle is 90 n. That is 3 n with 90 degrees. Okay. So these are very, very important bits. So number of other problems based on this topic I will send. Please resolve those problems with your pen and paper. So after resolving, automatically this topic it will be clear. It will be clear. Okay. So next one. This is all about your alpha ray scattering experiment and Rutherford's model of atom. After this model, there is Bohr's atomic model. And between this Rutherford's model and Bohr's atomic model, there is a lot of developments in your science. So you should know about the science, the developments of towards the science using those concepts and this Rutherford concept. So finally, Bohr proposed his famous theory, that is Bohr's atomic theory. Before entering to Bohr's atomic theory, what are the developments leads to the development of that Bohr's atomic model? That is wave concepts, and that is very, very important concepts. And so what are those points? That is different theories towards your light, concept towards light. And so based up to this, already I completed in your stoichiometry part. Those are, see my dear boys, what are those? First one, nuclide developments between Bohr's theory and Rutherford's theory. Nuclide, atomic number is entered here. Nuclide. What is this nuclide? Nuclide is, that is indicated with a letter X with atomic number Z and mass number A. It is equal to number of protons. It is equal to protons plus neutrons and protons plus neutrons. So this is nuclide. So it is the element having this much number of protons and this much number of protons plus neutrons. This gives mass number. This is atomic number. Atomic number. Okay. So this is a nuclide, and by using this nuclide, we are going to discuss number of other particles, that is isotopes, isobars, isotones, isodiapers, isosters. Already in stoichiometry part, I explained it at the beginning. At the beginning, I explained all these points. So just a brief information here I am going to give. So first of all, so there is chlorine 1735. So in this part, how many electrons, how many protons, how many neutrons? Find out, calculate these particles. Calculate number of electrons, protons, and neutrons in chlorine 35. Chlorine 1735. So here, this is equal to Z and Z is equal to protons or electrons and protons or electrons. Okay. So therefore, 17 electrons, 17 protons. This 35 is equal to protons plus neutrons. Already protons is equal to this much. Therefore, number of neutrons is equal to A minus Z. Number of neutrons is equal to A minus, because number of neutrons is equal to protons plus neutrons. Z is equal to protons. Protons plus gases, that is neutrons. Therefore, A minus Z is equal to number of neutrons. A is 35 minus 17, which is equal to 18. 18 number of neutrons. 18 number of neutrons. Therefore, number of electrons 17, number of protons, number of neutrons. Number of neutrons. Okay. So based on this, so I am giving a problem. Please solve this. What will be the difference in mass number if the number of neutrons, if the number of neutrons halved and number of electrons doubled. Number of electrons doubled in carbon 612. What will be the difference in mass number? What will be the difference in mass number if number of protons, number of neutrons are halved and number of electrons are doubled? Number of electrons are doubled. Okay. Difference in mass number. Final mass number minus initial mass number. So see here, carbon 612 is given to you. Initial case and final case. Try to write. Initially, protons is equal to 6 and neutrons 12 minus 6 to 6 and okay. Next, mass number that is A and is equal to 12 and this is A, this is Z and mass number 12 and next, final case. What is it? Final case. The number of neutrons are halved. Number of neutrons are halved. That means finally 3 neutrons and number of electrons are doubled. Electrons are doubled, see here, but not protons. Protons as it is maintained. Protons as it is maintained. Okay. So this protons plus neutrons is equal to A. Protons plus neutrons is equal to A. Therefore, here A is equal to 9 and A is equal to 9. Therefore, difference in mass number is equal to 12 minus 9, that is 3. That is 3. Actually, 12 should be there. Now it is 9. How much is the difference here is observed? Which is 25%. Which is 25% difference is observed. 25%. That is percentage difference is equal to, that is 3 by 12 into 100. That is equal to 25. 25% difference is observed. Like this, number of problems are there. So please solve. So I am going to send all these values, all these problems. Okay, this is nuclides. By using these nuclides, we are going to explain isotopes, isobars, isotones, isodiapers, etc. Please wait. Slowly I am going to clarify the topics. And slowly I am going to clarify. All these are very, very important. So try to listen carefully. Today I am going to take class up to 12:30 or 12:40. Please wait. Please be conscious. A lot of work is there. A lot of syllabus is there in this week. That's why I am going to take the entire my session. Next one. Now I am going to take different topics here. First one, isotopes. Isotopes. What are these isotopes? Isotopes means here atomic number Z is the same, mass number A is different. For same atoms of same element, and it is for atomic number same means same element. For same element, different atomic, same atomic number, different mass number. So mass number is nothing but that is A, and that is protons plus neutrons is different, and protons plus neutrons is different. So see examples: 1H1, 1H2, 1H3. It is hydrogen. It is deuterium. This is tritium, and tritium. This tritium is called as radioactive isotope of hydrogen. Radioactive isotope. It is heavy hydrogen, and it is called as heavy hydrogen. It is simply hydrogen, which is also called as protium, and another name for hydrogen is protium. Now I am going to calculate number of electrons, protons, and neutrons. So in 1H1, electrons is equal to 1, protons is equal to 1, neutrons A minus Z, 1 minus 1, 0. Next, in this case, 1, 1, 2 minus 1, which is equal to 1. And next, in this case, 1, 1, 3 minus 1, which is equal to 2. And therefore, in all these isotopes, electrons are same, protons are same. The only difference is the number of neutrons. That means A is different, means neutron number is different. Number of neutrons are different. So that means elements having same atomic number, different mass number, or elements having same atomic number, different number of neutrons also considered as isotopes. Because electrons are same, in all these cases, electrons is equal to 1. So number of electrons, that means in reactions, electrons are participate, all those electrons are same, therefore chemical properties are same. Chemical properties are same, but physical properties are different for isotopes. For isotopes, chemical properties are same, different physical properties are different. So here electrons, protons are same, but number of neutrons are only different. So presence of these isotopes, atomic weights are fractional. So fractional atomic weight of elements is due to the existence of isotopes of a particular element. So for example, hydrogen atomic weight is 1.008. So its value is fractional. Why it is not equal to 1, not equal to 2? Because it is not an integer, because the fractional value is due to existence of isotopes. existence of isotopes of an element, automatically those elements have fractional isotopes, sorry, fractional atomic weight. That atomic weight is calculated with the help of the formula already we are using, already we used there in stoichiometry for the calculation of atomic weights. So those atomic weights are calculated with the help of atomic mass. Average atomic mass is equal to sigma percentage abundance of that element into its atomic weight, into its atomic mass by 100. So by using this formula, number of problems are already solved in your stoichiometry end. That is why I don't want to explain the problem here. So see, very important this problem. So next one, isobars. What are these isobars? Isobars. In isotopes, atomic number same, mass number different. In isobars, isobars, atomic number different, mass number same. Atomic number different, mass number same. Atomic number different means different elements for different elements. Different elements having same mass number automatically called as isobars. Example, carbon 614, nitrogen 714. Mass number different, mass number same, atomic number different. One is carbon, another one is nitrogen. Different elements. Elements are different, automatically their physical properties, chemical properties are also different. Next, similarly, argon 18, potassium 19, calcium 20. All these have 40 as the mass number. 40, 40, 40. Okay, so different atomic number, same mass number, isobars. So for these different chemical properties, different physical properties. Different physical properties, different chemical properties. Or sometimes these physical properties may be same. But chemical properties are entirely different. Next, isotones. Isotones. So I'm going to take simply any, because all these are explained in your stoichiometry part. That's why the topic is now repeated here. Isotones. What are these isotones? So atomic number ZA, both are different. This one also different. But A minus Z, nothing but number of neutrons. Number of neutrons same. Number of neutrons same. So if Z same, isotope. A same, isobars. A minus Z is the same number of neutrons. That is isotones. Isotones. Example. That is silicon 1430, phosphorus 1531. See here, 30 minus 14, which is equal to 16. 31 minus 15, which is also 58. That means number of neutrons here and here are same. Now these two are isotones. Isotones. So for isotones, A minus Z value same. For isotones, A minus Z value same. Next one. Isodiapers. Isodiapers means A different, mass number different, Z atomic number different, A minus Z number of neutrons also different, but A minus 2Z, which is called as isotopic number and is same and isotopic number which is same and so A minus 2Z which is called as isotopic number, that value is the same. If that value is same, those are called as isodiapers. Isodiapers. Take example, fluorine 919, sodium 1123 and 1123. So check once again, A minus 2Z value, that is equal to A value 19, 2Z 18, which is equal to 1 gram. Now, for sodium, that is A Z value, A minus, A value 23, Z value 2Z 22, which is equal to 1. So isotopic number are same, automatically these two are taken as isodiapers. Isodiapers. So very, very important. So up to now, what are the conditions finally? Isotopes, isobars, isotones, isodiapers. Isodiapers. First one, Z value, A value, A minus Z value, A minus 2Z value. Okay, here isotopes, Z value same and A value, A minus Z value, these are different. Isobars, this is different, this is same, these are different. A value same and isobars. Isotones, Z value, A value, both are different, but A minus Z, that is nothing but number of neutrons, which is same, this is different. Next, isodiapers, these three are different, but isotopic number, which is A minus 2Z, which is called as isotopic number. That isotopic number is same, that is called as isodiapers. So here, chemical properties same and physical properties different. Here, chemical properties different, physical properties may be same. So their physical and chemical properties are different. Their physical and chemical properties are different. So these are different types of nuclides. So isotopes, isobars, isotones, and isodiapers. Isodiapers. Along this, there are isosters. One more. Isosters. What are these isosters? So applicable for molecules or ions. These are applicable for molecules or ions. Next, here atomicity, that is nothing but number of atoms in molecule or ion. Atomicity and number of valency electrons. These two are same and very, very important. Isosters, atomicity and number of valency electrons are same. Atomicity and number of valency electrons are same. Automatically, size also same. And their size is also same. If these conditions are holds good, automatically those are called as isosters. Example, Example, CO2 and N2 what? Atomicity is 3, 2 plus 1. It is 2 plus 1, 3. Atomicity is same. Next, similarly, C6H6, that is B3N3H6N. Here atomicity 12, 6 plus 6. Here atomicity also 3 plus 3 plus 6, 12, and atomicity is same. So automatically those two are isostars. Isostars. Next, Na plus and H plus N. Na plus and H plus. Atomicity 1 and 1 and 1. Number of valence electrons. Here valence electrons 0. Here also valence electrons 0. These are valence electrons. Now these are taken as isostars. So that means, so atomicity, number of valence electrons, automatically size sometimes may be same. So these conditions are taken as isostars. Isostars. After Rutherford, these are the developments. We should know. Required for Bose theory again. Required for Bose theory. Explanation. Next one. Isoelectronic species. Isoelectronic species. What are these isoelectronic species? Iso means same and electronic means electrons. So same electron, the species are called as isoelectronic species. Isoelectronic species. See here, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, sodium, magnesium, aluminum, etc. In all these cases, here nitrogen has -3, -2, -1, 0, +1, +2, +3 ions. +3 ions. Nitrogen atomic number 7. Number of electrons count just. See, I'm going to count number of electrons. Atomic number 7. -3 means 3 electrons gaining, 10 electrons. 8, 2 electrons gaining, 10 electrons. 9, 1 electron gaining, 10 electrons. Neon, no losing, no electron, that is 10. Sodium, actually 11, 1 electron lost, +1, that means 10, 10, 10. That means all these species have same number of electrons. Therefore, it is taken as an isoelectronic series. So, by taking any one, for example, here neon is the middle one. Now, we are going to take argon also. Argon. That is, what is this? Phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, argon, potassium, calcium, or sometimes scandium also. Here -3, -2, -1, 0, potassium +1, calcium +2, scandium +3. In all these cases, phosphorus actually 15, -3, 3 electrons gained, 18. All these having 18 number of electrons. And check once again. So this is one isoelectron series. It is another isoelectron series. Like this, a series of species having same number of electrons are called as isoelectronic series. So sometimes this isoelectronic series, later we are going to explain it. Okay. So see here, these are developments. These are different developments that is leads to our Bose theory, Bose model of atom. After that, so now I am going to explain nature of light. Now I am going to explain nature of light. What do you want? Nature of light. What is this nature of light? How to explain? So what are the developments between this Rutherford theory and Bose theory? What are the developments towards this nature of light? So nature of light. See here. So, no doubt, we all know about that. light has different natures. Light is considered as electromagnetic radiation. Light is nothing but electromagnetic radiation. How to explain the nature of light? The nature of light is explained by using two theories. Here two theories are used to explain this nature of light. One is Newton's corpuscular theory. Newton's corpuscular theory, and the second one is Huygens wave theory. There are two theories to explain the nature of light. Newton's corpuscular theory, Huygens wave theory. So this Newton's corpuscular theory is nothing but that is classical theory. That was developed explained by the scientist Newton. According to Newton, light are nothing but a corpuscular thing. Corpuscular means particles. That means light he considered as a particle. So just like particles, light is propagated. So that is the corpuscular theory. So it has only particulature. Okay. So after explaining Huygens wave theory of light, so this corpuscular theory is cancelled. According to Huygens, light is nothing but a wave. According to Huygens, light is nothing but a wave. So if it is a wave has certain characteristic properties. So those wave characteristic properties are wave has certain characteristic properties. What are those characteristic properties? Every wave has a wavelength. Every wave has wavelength indicated with a letter lambda. Wavelength. Second one, frequency indicated with a letter mu. Next, third one, wave number indicated with a mu bar. Wave number. Next, amplitude of the wave, A. So these are the different characteristic properties to explain the wave. So here light is propagated according to Huygens wave theory. Light is propagated in the form of wave. So light is propagated in the form of wave, having some crust and trough. Having some crust and trough, light is propagated in the form of wave. So the height of the crust or depth of the trough is nothing but amplitude of that wave. Height of the crust or depth of the trough is nothing but amplitude of the wave. That is amplitude. Next, that is the distance between one crust and one trough. This is the length. It is one crust and one trough. The length is taken as wavelength. Wavelength lambda. So one crust and one trough, the distance is taken as wavelength. That is wavelength. So one crust and one trough, it is called as one cycle. It is called as one cycle. One crust and one trough. It is one cycle. Okay. Next, frequency. So what is frequency? That is the number of waves. Mind it. So up to one crust and one trough is equal to one wave. One crust and one trough is equal to one cycle, which is also called as one wave. So now I am going to identify. So this is the point. Let it be. This is the point. I am going to find out how many waves are passing through that point per unit time. So the number of waves that cross through the point in 1 second is called, the number of waves passed through a point through 1 second is called as, number of waves passing through the point in 1 second is called as frequency. So which is called as frequency indicated with the letter nu and indicated with the letter nu. So wavelength, distance between crust and trough is wavelength. That number of waves passing through a particular point is called as so that is a frequency. Okay, that is the number of waves here, particular length per unit length. Let it be 1 centimeter. How many waves are there? The number of waves per unit length is called as wave number nu bar. Wave number nu bar. So wavelength, frequency, wave number, amplitude. So by using all these values, so I am giving some relations, some relations. All these you should learn in your lower classes, that is up to 10th class. I think most of the students well known one, these points. So interrelation between one to another ending. Wavelength lambda and symbol lambda. So it is nothing but length. Length has units centimeters, meters. So smaller units nanometers, angstroms. These are the different units. So different units. Now 1 angstrom is equal to conversion step. 1 angstrom is equal to 10 power minus 8 meters. Sorry, 10 power minus 8 centimeters, 10 power minus 10 meters. 10 power minus 10 meters. Similarly, 1 nanometer is equal to 10 power minus 7 centimeters, 10 power minus 9 meters. Next, 1 picometer, smallest units are length gauge. That is a 10 power minus 10 meters, which is equal to 10 power minus 12. Sorry, it is centimeters, it is meters. So these are the different conversions. So if the values are given to you. So meters is the MK system unit, centimeters is the CGS system unit. Centimeters is the CGS system unit. So you should know there is a wavelength and it is wavelength is expressed in terms of different units. Next, frequency. Frequency indicated with letters nu and frequency nu. So nu, that is number of cycles per second per unit length. Per unit time, cycles per second. So 1 cycle per second is equal to 1 cycle per second is equal to 1 hertz. 1 cycle per second is equal to 1 hertz. So hertz is another unit. So cycles per second, hertz are simply called as second inverse is the another unit. So this is this one and hertz. These are the 3 units per frequency, cycles per second or second inverse or hertz. So which is equal to 1 second inverse. So everything is useful. 1 cycles per second is equal to 1 hertz is equal to 1 second inverse. So these are the frequency units. Frequency. Now frequency nu is equal to formula C by lambda. Very, very important. Frequency nu is equal to formula C by lambda. What is C? C is equal to velocity of light. C is equal to velocity of light. Its value is equal to 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second or 3 into 10 power 10 centimeters per second. Fixed value in velocity of light. C is equal to velocity of light, which is equal to 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second, 3 into 10 power 10 centimeters per second. Nu is equal to formula C by lambda. Nu is equal to C by lambda. Next, nu bar, which is nothing but wave number. That is number of waves per unit length. Number of waves per unit length. So nu bar is equal to 1 by lambda and formula. Nu bar is equal to 1 by lambda. Lambda has units centimeters. Therefore, it has centimeters inverse, meters inverse are the units for this wave number. Centimeter inverse or meter inverse are the units per this wavelength. So that is the wave number. Okay. Now, what are the interrelation between these 3? So see here. Nu is equal to C by lambda. But 1 by lambda is equal to nu bar. That is C nu bar. So these are the interrelations. Nu is equal to C by lambda, C nu bar. So C nu bar. So these are the interrelation between one to another. And if you know nu, you should calculate lambda, or you should calculate nu bar. That is wave number. So these are the properties of wave. Properties of wave. Light is propagated in the form of wave. That means light should follow all these rules and all these rules. So velocity of light is nothing but 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second. That is 3 into 10 power 10 centimeters per second. And all these values are, you should remember. All these values you should remember. Next, later, this light is nothing but electromagnetic radiation. That means it has both electric field and magnetic field each other. So that is why the electromagnetic property of light. The electromagnetic property of light. Light is an electromagnetic radiation. Light is an electromagnetic radiation. That means it has both electric field and magnetic field. Perpendicular to each other. Perpendicular to each other. So electromagnetic radiation, it has both electric field and magnetic field perpendicular to each other. Let us take, this is the propagation of light. It is propagation of light. Propagation of light. So through the further propagation of light, both electric field is perpendicular to propagation of light and also magnetic field. So let us take this one. So in the form of wave, this is, let us take this one as electric field perpendicular to the propagation of light. So if light is moving like this in this direction, so in perpendicular direction, so automatically electric field is developed. Next, that means if it is x-axis, propagation, this is in y-axis, electric field on y-axis. Now magnetic field, that is along z-axis. That means, so just like this one, up above board and below board. Above board, below board. It is not possible to draw here. I am going to draw here like this. It is on z-axis. Z-axis. So here it is a magnetic field. Magnetic field. So that means it has both electric field and magnetic field. So perpendicular to each other and also perpendicular to the propagation of light. So whatever it may be, it is in the form of wave. So all those properties already I told to you are applicable here also. So electromagnetic radiation. So what is the meaning of radiation? Radiation means that has both light and heat. Heat and light both are available in it. That means our sun radiation, it is sunlight. So in particular, sunlight is taken as sun radiation. That means through that light, through that radiation, so it has, we have both light and heat energy. Light heat combination is called as radiation. Light heat combination is called as radiation. Here, propagation of light is perpendicular to electric field and also perpendicular to the magnetic field. So see your textbook, clear diagram, we should you know that. So that is propagation of light. So all is applicable to this one. How to calculate energy of this light? So energy of light. How to calculate energy of light? Energy of light is calculated by using the formula, different formulas, and that is Planck's quantum theory. By using the Planck's quantum theory, we should calculate energy of light. Okay. So before going to the Planck's quantum theory, so you should know about the black body radiation. We should know about black body radiation. It is another experiment and another development before Bose period. Black body. What is meant by black body? Black body means it is a perfect absorber. It is a perfect absorber. For example, let us take a body, something radiation is falling on it. All the radiation and all the wavelengths present in it are completely absorbed by this body. Completely absorbed by this body. The body which absorbs all the radiation falling on it. The body that absorbs all the radiation falling on it and also emits all the radiation present in it on heating. So which emits all the radiation, would absorb all the radiation. So it is a perfect absorber and emitter of the radiation. So that type of body is called as a black body radiation or black body. The radiation in and out is called as black body radiation. So in our nature, in our universe, there is no perfect black body. So there is no perfect black body. Almost black bodies are there. Almost black bodies are there. So if black body emits radiation, that emitted radiation is like this. That is black body radiation. If a black body is heated strongly, the emitted radiation is like this. That emits all the radiation present in it. I am going to draw a graph between intensity of radiation on y-axis and wavelength of radiation on x-axis. Wavelength of radiation on x-axis. Okay. If the black body is heated, first of all, so wavelength, lower wavelength is coming out with low intensity. So see here, like this and like this. Let it be at T1 temperature, heated area at a temperature T1. Next, like this at a temperature T2. Like this at a temperature T2. Okay, that means intensity as the temperature increases, intensity also increases. Intensity of the emitted radiation also increases. That means it has more intensity, it has less intensity and corresponding intensity. That means T2 temperature is greater than T1 and T2 temperature is greater than T1 and as temperature increases, the wavelength corresponds to the maximum intensity. It is the maximum intensity. Corresponding wavelength is lessened. So it is more temperature. T2 is the high temperature, wavelength is lessened. So T1 is the low temperature, wavelength is high and corresponding to maximum wavelength. That means as temperature increases, intensity increases, wavelength corresponds to the maximum. Wavelength corresponds to the maximum decreases. So this is the radiation that is observed by different scientists. So why this happened, how this happened is not clearly explained by scientists at that time. To explain this black body radiation, Max Planck proposed a theory which is called as Planck's quantum theory. Planck's quantum theory. Now I am going to explain that Planck's quantum theory. That is the end of today's topic. So see here. To explain black body radiation, Planck proposed a theory called as Planck's quantum theory. Why that radiation is coming out? How that radiation is coming out from black body? Because of heating. That is Planck's quantum theory. What is this Planck's quantum theory? Planck's quantum theory. The scientist named Planck. So he proposed a theory that is called as Planck's quantum theory. It is nearly 1900 timing then. At the time of 1900, this theory was developed. That is the Planck's quantum theory to explain black body radiation. To explain black body radiation, there is a Planck quantum theory. What is this Planck quantum theory? So he proposes some points. What is that? First point, every charged vibrating particle, my dear boys, very, very clear, listen carefully. Every charged vibrating particle emits radiation. So if radiation is emitted, that should be in vibration. Every charged vibrating particle always emits radiation. First point. The absorption or emission of radiation is mainly due to vibration of charged particle. Vibration of charged particle. It is very, very, very important. Every charged vibrating particle always emits or absorbs radiation. Next point. The radiation is associated with definite amount of energy. Definite amount of energy. That means the coming out radiation or absorbed radiation must be having some amount of energy. That amount of energy. Okay, definite amount of energy. Next, that emission or absorption energy. The emission or absorption of energy is always in discontinuous, mind it is very, very important, discontinuous waveform. Not continuous, it is a discontinuous waveform. So that should be in the form of discontinuous waveform. In particular, a packet as a packet of energy. That discontinuous waveform as a packet. That packet he named as quanta. The packet of energy is called as quanta. So each packet having certain amount of energy, that energy is called as, the energy present in it is called as quantum energy. So energy is called as quantum. Energy in packet. Energy in packet is called as quantum. That packet is called as quanta. The packet of energy, packet is called as quanta. So energy associated with the packet is called as quantum. So that's why this theory is called as quantum. Each packet of energy is an integral multiple of certain fixed value. Integral multiple means the multiple of certain value. Integral multiple of certain value. So that each packet of energy E is always directly proportional to nu. E is equal to some h nu. E is equal to some h nu. That h is called as Planck's constant. Planck's constant. It has values 6.625 into 10 power minus 34. Minus 34 joule second. 6.625 into 10 power minus 27 erg second. My dear boys, not per, it is per, just dash. It is just dash any erg second or joule second. These are called as Planck's constants. It is the proportionality constant. The energy associated with the packet, that is, this is one packet, this is another packet, this is another packet. These are the packets of energy. They is propagated in the form of small packets. So this has h nu energy. This may have 3 h nu energy. This may have 2 h nu energy. So this may have 10 h nu energy. That means h nu is common. It is a multiple of h nu energy. That is why the total energy E is equal to n h nu is the energy. N is the quantum number. That n is equal to 1, 2, 3, etc. That means Energy is an integral multiple of certain value, that is h nu. So that means energy is fixed to a certain value and multiple of certain value and that fixed quantity is called as quantization. And quantization means fixing to certain value. And so every value is a multiple of that value. And so that fixing of certain value is called as quantization. Here energy is quantized. And here energy is quantized. And that's why this is very, very important. That is Planck's quantum theory. And here E is equal to n h nu. N is the integer. And